From two dairy painters to multiple seven-figure business owners, I'm Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
I'll be giving you guys the insider secrets to take your trades business to the next level.
From crazy stories to proven strategies, get ready to supercharge your business with us.
Welcome to the Dirty Painters Podcast.
Guys, in today's episode, we want to share our very successful and valuable 10-step sales process. Trust me, we have tried everything, and this is the best process that we have ever used. You don't want to miss this one. Let's get right into it.
So yeah, like Carmelo said, over the past 5 years, we've tried every sales method out there. I spent thousands of sales training. I read hundreds of books, tried sophisticated methods of sales, techniques, closing techniques. I went to courses that were they teach you how to be a closer and how to not leave the spot without a check. And then what I came to realize, I'm like, hey, if somebody's going to buy, they're going to buy. No matter how good of a closer you are, no matter your sales techniques, no matter how aggressive you are, if they don't want to buy, they won't buy, man. I promise you. So that's why we came up with all these principles. Let me rephrase that. We didn't come up with these principles. We did our research. We studied principles that other people came up with, and then we implemented them in our business and the way that we do things. So this episode will teach you how to be sincere, present your product properly, educate your customers, and care for their wants and needs. We use 3 methods of selling. We sell in person, we sell virtually, and then we sell billing report, going there, getting all the questions answered, asking the customers what they want to do, and then we go back and then we email a sequence of follow-ups, back and forth, maybe setting up a second appointment. So those are the 3 ways how we sell as Olympian and how a lot of our consulting clients sell, other business owners sell. And what we came up to find out and what we really stress on is our highest closing ratio is when we sell on the spot. When we go through the whole process, when we explain the whole presentation to the customer, identify their wants and needs, and present them a price right there and there. We have the forms, we have everything that needs to assist our presentation and the sales pitch, and then we try to get the deal done right there and there. But we're not aggressive closers. We don't have all these crazy closing tricks to try to make people buy there. We're not like a car salesman that's trying to get you to leave the lot with the car right there and there. So we came up with our process, first of all, just so we can have structure, and then we came up with a process so it can be easily to scale and train others with. And also another reason I came up with that process, because step number 1 starts with pre-screening the lead, is to save time and weed out tire kickers. Because in the beginning when we started out, we were the lead would come in, would set up an appointment, and go out. I cannot tell you how many times we went out there and the customer just got a sticker shock and they're like, holy shit, it costs $7,000 to paint my cabinet. And the next thing you know, I'm like, oh my God, I spent 30 minutes on the phone with you, and then I spent
An hour driving,
and then I'm spending an hour here, and then I have to drive another back. So I just wasted 4 hours of my life for you to tell me that my product is too expensive. So that's why I was like, okay, we got to come up with a nice pre-screening method so we're not wasting our time, and we're not wasting people's times as well, not only our time. Because if they can't afford it, no matter how good our sales presentation is, no matter how good our processes are, how good the products are, they won't buy because they just can't afford it.
Yeah, you're not supposed to sell every lead you get because price expectations are different for each customer, or
it's not willing to spend the money. They don't care about it much. So yeah, step number 1 on the Olympian 10-step sales process is pre-screening the lead. Like we said earlier, this is a very important part of the process. It's like with speed dating, and both parties are trying to make a good first impression. That's a good analogy. It's like you're trying to make sure you're a good fit for each other, and you try to make sure they can afford you.
Yeah, and back on the wasting time thing, because the most valuable thing as a business owner is your time. So wasting 100%. It 4 hours when you could have been using it for something else, it sets you back tremendously.
100%. So on step number 1, this is where we're going to ask the customer questions to make sure they're a good fit to work with us. Also, we're going to weed out all the tire kickers, window shoppers, and people who are just looking for a price, because we get a lot of them. Like, oh, I'm just looking for a price. Okay, I'll give you a price. I'll give you a price range, not an exact price. And if you're within the range and you give me a green light, then we'll move on past the first date. And like we said, Carmelo said, remember, as a business owner, your time is the most valuable asset, and you don't want to waste it. We want to make sure of 3 things before we schedule to go out on an estimate. Number 1, they're looking to schedule within 3 weeks. They're hot and ready to buy. They understand what the cost can be to receive the value we have to offer, and they're willing to pay it. And number 3, we're a good fit for the project and the client. Because a lot of times we'll get some weirdos just by their tone or how they speak to us. They're disrespectful. I don't want
Condescending, anything, yeah.
we don't want to, or you can tell if they respect your time right off the bat, or the way they talking to you on the phone. We're
we catch up on that.
We catch up on that. Yeah, like if you're disrespectful from the first initial phone call, we don't want to work with you. But also, if the number 1 is if they're willing to buy right away, because if they're just looking at price to get their house painted in like 6 months or in the summer, we're not gonna go out now. It's a waste of time. We'll just give you a range, and then once you're ready, if you're within the range, then we'll come out. And then we set up expectations on what it can cost. That way, we don't go out there, like we said earlier, and we hit them with the price, and then they're all shocked.
Yeah, and the scheduling later down the road, because recently it just happened that you gave me this lead that they were looking to paint their house 6 months later down the road, and I just gave them a range.
Yep.
And when you're ready to go, if the range is right for you, just let us know 2 to 3 weeks in advance so we can come out and look at it in person and finalize the details.
Yep. That's why one of the questions that we have on our forum is like, what stage is the project in? Ready to hire, just getting prices. So it depends on which box they check. Then we move it on a different column on the CRM. If they're ready to hire, then that's a hot lead. If they're just shopping around, we make them tick the box. And then people, most of the time, are honest because they don't like you blowing up their phone trying to set up appointments. So let's get into the exact pre-screening process that we follow. So the lead will come in from wherever, Instagram DMs, text, email, phone call. Before we even reach out to the customer, we find the house on Zillow or Redfin, and we look at the house value and any pictures we can find online. If there's none, we text the customer like, hey, this is Redion from Olympian Painting, following up on your online submission, or your phone call, on your Instagram DM. Can you please send me some pictures of what you're looking to get painted? Very important before you put them on the phone. You need to know what you're dealing with, and you need to know what you're trying to paint looks like. Most of the time, people will send us picture. They'll answer every question that we have. They'll send the pictures. If they don't, they're like, oh, don't you come out? Red flag. You don't want to be dealing with that person. If they're not willing to spend 30 seconds to send you some pictures of what they're looking to get painted, it does not respect your time. So those are some of the red flags I look. If they're like defensive about sending pictures, that's a big red flag for me. And then I hit them with, if they come like, oh, you don't come out for an estimate, or you guys don't come and do it in person, I hit them with like, hey, we do a preliminary estimate before we come out to make sure we're a good fit for each other. And then if they're jackasses, they'll ghost you. Or if they're actually interested in hiring you, then they'll move on with the sequence. And I have my little script here. Hello, this is Redion from Olympian Painting, Tampa, following up on your online submission. Can you please send me some pictures of your kitchen, cabinets, and the number of doors and drawers? Or it can be exterior from all 4 sides of the house. Or if it's interior rooms, like send me some pictures of the interior rooms. After I text them this, I try to schedule a 15-minute phone call. It can be done through text, but it's better to get them on the phone because you can pick up on people's tonality. You can pick up on people's character by how they're talking to you or by how they're answering some questions. And that way you'll make the sales process easier.
And I like the phone call because you're actually talking to a person and you're not just going back and forth through text. That's when the relationship starts. Mm-hmm. And they start 100%. Building trust depending on what kind of questions they ask or all that stuff.
It works through text and DMs. We've had success with it. Mm-hmm. But we've seen, based on tracking the data, it works way better when you get them on the phone and they get to know you as like, hey, they hear your voice, they see how you talk and how you respond back. So one of the questions that we ask, first question, if it's an interior, we ask them, is the house vacant or occupied? Does it have furniture or is it empty? Did you just purchase the house? And if they just did, you ask them, what's your move-in date? Next, we ask them what exactly they're looking to get painted. and you let them talk. Once you ask that question, you just let the customer talk. Don't try to overpower them on the phone. Just ask one question, nice and short, and boom, let them talk. Build rapport and do not interrupt them. Once they're done speaking, then you can follow up with other questions. Once they're done, then you follow up with, thank you for that. And you ask them, how soon are you looking to get it done? And then you let them talk again. If they say less than 3 weeks, I consider them a hot and ready buyer since there is a sense of urgency and I'm willing to go out more. After they respond, based on the responses, I start building up on that. I ask next, what's your biggest concern or worry with this project? Is quality and longevity and a durable lasting coating your top priority? And what this question does, it sets up subconsciously, makes them tell you, this is my biggest worry, this is what I want done, this is my top priority, and you can kind of pick up on that based on the emotions that they're going to express or how much are they willing to spend. So you're kind of getting a grasp of how much they're willing to spend without be like, hey, what's your budget? That's one question you never want to ask. What's your budget? Don't ask that. By asking those strategic questions, you can pick up with if they're just looking to get painted, put 2 coats of paint on the walls, if they're looking for something that's the best, that's going to last them forever. Based on those answers that you're going to get back, it's going to set up their budget pretty much subconsciously. And then the most common answers that we've gotten doing thousands of these calls are just looking for a refresh, not really looking to break the bank. I want the cheapest option possible. Quality and longevity is my top priority. And then the last one, I want a good job with a reasonable price. So the first 2 answers, I automatically weed those people out. Those leads, no matter how good your product is, no matter how good of a salesperson you are, no matter how good your presentation is, you can give them a 2,000-year warranty. They're just not willing to spend the money. So those will pass on our virtual quoting stage. We'll be like, hey, send us pictures, and we'll give you price ranges through the phone. If all of a sudden, most of the time, they just get a shock. They're like, holy shit. And I have screenshots like, holy shit, that's how much it costs?
Or are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Or no, thank you. That's my favorite one. They're like, no, thank you. So, yeah. So right there, I just spent 15 minutes. It's okay. I send them a virtual price. But I didn't spend 4 hours going there, doing an estimate, preparing a report, and all that. The third answer, when all they care about is the quality and longevity, I just schedule an appointment because those projects usually are our big ticket clients because they care about quality and value. And it's up to me and my presentation to get the job. Price is not an issue usually for those people. They just want good quality and then like product that's going to last them long. So they're willing to spend the extra money. But you have to explain why they're spending that extra money. It's like one of my business partners like, Redion, rich people, they don't want to spend money too, but they have the money to spend if you can showcase value, if you can showcase that they're getting value for what they're spending. Big eye opener for me. And then the last answer, when they say I want a good job within a reasonable price, I'll give them a range of what the project might cost and then tell them we offer a few different options. So my range will be broad. Will be from $4,000 to $8,000, depends on the options that you choose to go with. And then based on how they come back to me, they might be, oh, that's more than I expected to pay, or that's within my price range, or whatever they say. I'm like, okay, what would you like to do next? That's another key question that you need to be asking. Once you give them a broad range and you let them talk or express their feelings, then you ask them, hey, what would you like to do next? And then it might be, I'm going to do some more shopping around, or if they're interested, like, okay, can we schedule a consultation? And then most likely those are they have higher chances to close. So that's pretty much our pre-screening. It's very short and sweet. It just weeds out a lot of the tire kickers, so we're not driving around like crazy to every lead that we get, and also sets up the tone for the appointment that we're going to go in. So we know what we're walking in, and also the customer knows what to expect. Because we're very transparent. We're not going to tell you it might cost anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 and show up to your house and be like, oh, guess what? It's going to be 30 G's. No, never. It never happens like that. We know. That's why I say we're professionals. We know what it costs. We've done thousands of them. So our pricing is always like 99.9% is accurate unless it's like an anomaly or something that it didn't disclose or something that it's easy to understand when you get there and you explain like, hey, you didn't tell me about this, or you didn't show me your detached garage that's 3,000 square feet. It's not included in the price. And people are understanding. So the pre-screening method, step number 1, very important. It's gonna, especially if you're just starting out and you don't have a sales team, it's gonna save you a lot of time. Then moving on, step number 2, the warm-up. You set up the appointment. Like we said,
if you arrive on time, you are late.
Exactly.
Yeah,
always make sure you arrive 10 to 15 minutes early, shows punctuality, and sets the tone for a premier painting company and a premier salesperson and a premier business owner, whatever premier you want to be. Being early on time, it's huge.
And an extra step you can take to show punctuality is also texting them when you're on the way there.
Yes. Very important. So I like doing a reminder the day before, and then I like doing a reminder an hour before the appointment. Like, hey, Karmelo, I'm going to be there in an hour. Are we still on? And then you have no idea how many times that saved me. Be like, oh my God, I completely forgot that we have an appointment today. And
driving 30 minutes there, then they tell you, oh, I forgot. And then driving 30 minutes back. That's also a time saver.
Exactly. Shit happens sometimes. People forget they're not in the house, and it'll save you that drive time. That's why it shows punctuality, but also saves you a lot of times when people are like, hey, I'm running behind, or I forgot. It happens so many times. So yeah, always make sure you text them like, hey, Karmelo, starting to head your way for our appointment. We'll see you shortly. Thank you. Like Karmelo says, shows professionalism, also reminds the customer to expect you. If you're running late, which things can happen, make sure you let them know. Don't just show up late. A lot of people just, fuck it, I'm running late, who cares? And they show up like an hour later. Don't. If things happen, like, hey, I'm sorry, traffic,
accident, whatever.
Yeah, I got
something that's out of my control.
Yeah, something that's out of control. People will be understanding. So you go past that, you're on time, you get there. When I go to a house, I look for icebreakers. Maybe a cool car, a college flag, a boat, something that I can start small talk going to an appointment. I knock on the door, I introduce myself. I always give them a nice and firm handshake while making eye contact. That's a nice little trick which builds trust right away. And then back to our favorite quote, remember to take your friggin' shoes off. Very important. Even if the house is filthy, I don't care. Unless it's like new construction and it's like, cement there.
You have the plywood.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
But if they have finished floors, tile, carpet, take your shoes off. It shows respect to the customer right off the bat. Even if they're like, oh, no, you don't have to take them off. Still take them off. Even if the floors are dirty, I don't care. Just take them off. It sets the tone like, hey, I'm a respectful person. I run a respectful organization. We're going to take care of you from the first moment we step foot in your house, and we're going to respect your house. It's going to build trust right away. You ask them how their day was. Be extremely polite and friendly. This is a genuine phase just to be you. You're not selling anything right now. You're not trying to go straight to the close, nothing. You make them feel comfortable. Another little trick, it's you have to be a pet whisperer. Like if you see a dog or a cat, unless you're allergic, just pet the friggin' animals. Just be nice to them. Let them lick you. I don't know. When animals trust you and then they're accepting of you, the people subconsciously will be like, okay, this is a nice person. And actually, I read that in the book. Animals, they sense bad people. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I notice every time I go into a house and the cats come up to me, the dogs come up to me, and then you go down and pet them, the customer just relaxes. It's like, okay, this is a good guy in my house.
Yeah, people are very superstitious with their pets, so they'll pick up on that 100%.
100%.
And we've had great success with it.
And then that's why I'm very big into hey, pet the freaking dogs.
Yeah, you basically, initially, as soon as you get in there, you try to create the relationship there. You're not just a painter, you're just there, hey, having a nice conversation.
Yeah, you're just trying to be a friend to them. They welcome you into their house. Just be a nice person.
Step 3.
So that's the warm-up. Or like we said earlier with the icebreakers, if they have a cool car and you're a car guy or you know about cars, don't pretend you know things, because they'll be like, okay, this guy is a bullshitter. But if you see a cool car and you're a car guy, be like, oh man, I love this one, what model it is, how you like driving it, is it stick shift, or if they went to college, or like in Michigan, a lot of people have like Michigan State flags or University of Michigan. Be like, oh, are you a Michigan State fan? Did you graduate from there? Just try to make some small talk to get them to get to know them. Besides, like, hey, I'm here to sell you a paint job. Always look for those icebreakers. Or like sometimes they'll have like cool dogs, and you'll be like, oh, what's the dog's name? What breed? And just random stuff. I don't know. Come up with just being nice.
Show that you care. You're not a salesperson.
Well, what's one icebreaker that you look for when you're going? I never asked you that.
An icebreaker? Strictly the pets. A lot of people own pets down here.
Yeah.
So just talk about the pet, how old it is, what's his favorite treat, is he active? What? It's an icebreaker. We like treats.
Or if they have boats, you ask the husband, like, hey, do you like going fishing? And just be a friend. All right, so moving on from the warm-up. That's just the warm-up. No sales. Nothing has happened.
No talk of painting yet.
No talk of painting, nothing. So now, step 3, needs and wants analysis. So like we said in previous episodes, people buy for 2 reasons, a need or a want. So if you didn't identify that on the initial pre-screening phone call, we usually do, but if you didn't, we go in there and like and ask them like, hey, what's the vision? Or why are we here today? Why did you call us? What are you trying to achieve? Those are some of the good questions that you ask, and then you just let the lady or the husband talk, or whoever you're dealing with. They're gonna explain to you why they called you, what they're looking for. If it's a need or a want, like, hey, our HOA is on our ass, we have to paint the house, or I just hate the colors of the house, I can't stand living in them anymore, we have to paint. And then that's the most important thing. You let them talk, you're like, okay, show me around. You walk around, you take your notes while you're talking around. So we have this form, which it's called the scope of work. And then you pre-fill that with the customer's information, anything that has to do with the project. And then on that initial needs and wants analysis, that's where you write down everything on the scope of work. And remember, this is not the time to get into your sales pitch, into your presentation, to explain how you're going to do things, nothing. This is a time where you walk around with the customer and you let them talk. All you do is just, take notes. You're listening to them. Ask maybe like, oh, how about this? Is getting painting? Like, yeah, this is getting painting. You write it down. And you make your scope of work very detailed. And also make sure you don't write like a doctor and scribble things where nobody can read. Just make them neat, and because that scope of work page is going to come out later and assist you into your sales presentation. So after you do all that, you run down through the whole project, you have your scope of work pre-filled, then we go to step number 4, the company story. So you're going to be like, this is when you're going to introduce the company. Be like, okay, all this sounds great. I have everything written down. Let me tell you a little bit about us. So company story is huge. Then another form comes in. It's called the About page. That page we always leave behind with the customer. The About page is going to outline all your information about your company, your mission statement, and then the advantage of working and choosing your company. So the About page, every company out there needs to have. If you're going and doing in-person sales estimates, you have to have your About page. And you leave that one behind with them as well. It's kind of like an informational flyer. Like hey, this is us, we're cool, choose us kind of page. And then I usually start my introduction to step 4. I'm like, awesome, let us tell you a little bit about us and what Olympian stands for. And then, for example, for us, we're family owned and operated. We give them a little background of myself, Karmelo, our dad, 30 years in the business. We also stress out in that About page our strict company policies, like no smoking, no drugs. We don't hire people who abuse alcohol.
No foul language. So everything is a respectful environment.
Yeah. Clean background checks. And also after that, like, hey, we're not scumbags. We're good people. We go into our SOPs, how we train our guys in our SOPs. Also the company SOPs that we follow. And then another page comes in. Like, hey, these are our SOPs that we follow. Let's say it's an interior. For interior. And then you run them down through the SOP. We cover the floors. We do this, boom, 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 boom. You run through the whole process. We explain to them that we're very quality driven and our customer satisfaction is our top priority. No matter what, Always our end goal is for you to be happy. And then the last part, which it's been huge for us. We say anything we put our name on comes with a minimum of a 2-year warranty and our personal guarantee as a brand. So warranty and personal guarantee, it's two different words. So personal guarantee means like me as Redion or Karmelo, if something goes wrong, I'm going to come take care of it. I'm not going to take you through loopholes. I'm not going to make manufacturer claims and take you through 3 months. If, let's say, your cabinet starts blistering or your exterior starts blistering, I'm going to come fix it out of my own pocket to do right by you as a customer. And then I'm going to deal with manufacturer warranties after. Because it takes time to make warranty claims. It takes time to take people through loopholes. And I explained, like, hey, if anything, things happen. It's paint. Things might go wrong. If something happens, we're not going to even discuss it. If it's our fault, we're going to come take care of it. And then if the manufacturer wants to do right by us, then we deal with it. But we're never going to leave you hanging for 3 months with a failed paint job. And people really appreciate that. Right there, I just built a lot of trust. Like, okay, these guys stand behind their work. I'm never going to, even if issues happen, which it's possible, they're going to stand behind their work and they're going to come take care of it. And then a key tip, I always end this step of
the presentation with, does this sound like the company you'd want to take on your project? And then 99.9% of the time, people are like, yeah, that sounds great. This is an amazing company, or that all sounds so good. And then you move on. So our goal here is to get a yes. This is the paint company I want to work with. Moving on, step number 5 on the process. Measure for money. Now we're going to try and pick up on how much you're trying to spend. Subconsciously, we're not going to ask them like, hey, how much money do you have to spend with me? How much do you want to give me?
What's your budget? I hate when people ask, what's your budget? I hate that question. So subconsciously, you're trying to pick up and understand what are they willing to spend on this project. Number 1, I always ask how long they're planning to stay in the house. The answer will determine the quality and longevity of work they're looking to get done. So, for example, Karmelo, if you trying to stay in this house for 2 years and you're just trying to get it ready for selling, you're not going to buy my top package for exterior painting. You're like, okay, I'm just trying to make it look pretty, increase the curb appeal so I can sell it faster. But if you just bought the house now and you're planning on staying here for the next 10 years and you want to raise your kids here and, not move anytime soon, then I'm like, hey, Karmelo, a better quality paint job, you won't have to paint your house in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
It's going to save you money in the long run.
It will lower your maintenance costs. And that's something we break down, especially on our exterior packages. Yeah. Identifying that gives you a good idea of like, hey, I like it here. I'm probably going to stay here for 5 more years, then upgrade. Okay, then you're probably looking at my mid-tier packages. Yeah. I'm not going to sell you a package that the paint job is going to last 10 to 15 years or the one that's going to last, 3 to 5 years before you have to recoat it.
Comes back to the previous episode that we talked about being honest and transparent and ethical. Mm-hmm. It's huge. And people appreciate that. Not only they appreciate it that we take care of them, but also it helps you measure for money. Like we said, hey, this guy would be willing to spend X amount if I can present him the value. Moving on, number 2. We don't want to ask what the budget is, but we want to ask them like, hey, how much do you think this would cost, or what's the range that you're trying to stay within? What's the investment that you're trying to put into this? Those are keywords that you can still ask for a budget, but in different wording, because how you word your things plays a huge role. So you try not, because a lot of times, like when you ask somebody if you ask me what my budget is, I'm going to consider you think I'm a brokey. I'm like, this motherfucker thinks I'm broke, like I can't afford him. Subconsciously, people think that. That's why you have to ask them questions like, hey, how much are you willing to invest into this? What return on investment are you want to get from your exterior paint job? You want to repaint it again in 3 years, or you want to not have to worry about painting again in the next 10 years? So those are questions that you can get their budget number based on not calling them a brokey or like, hey, can you even afford me? Very important. Moving on, number 3, very important question. I asked them, have you gotten any other quotes or done any research on the cost? Most of the time, customers will lie about this. I know. I can pick up liars really fast. They'll be like, oh, no, you're my first quote and blah, 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 because they don't want to reveal all the cards right away. Because it's like a
Game of poker.
A game of poker. Like, they don't want to reveal all the cards away. They'll be like, you're my first quote. Or a lot of times, like, you know what? You're my last quote, man. And after this, I'm making a decision. Depends on their answers. They're going to tell you what cards they're dealing with. And then depends if you're trying to close on the spot, you'd be like, okay, what are the other quotes? Boom, they're like this. Oh, look, this guy is not quoting for a primer coat. He's quoting for a cheaper paint. Because I've had a lot of times customers, they like me as a salesperson or as a business owner. Like, hey, Redion, we like you, man. You're a good guy, but your price is like double the others. So I'm like, okay, Mrs. Homeowner, let's see what you got. And then they open up the proposals. I'm like, okay, I go through the proposals. I'm like, this guy here, he's not doing X step. He's not doing the prep. He doesn't even mention what primer he's using. He's not even mentioning what top coat he's using or how many coats he's doing. Or he's saying he's going to do 2 coats and his 2 coats is spray and back roll. And then I explain it to them. I'm not trying to undercut. I never undercut anybody. Like if they open up the prices to me, I just explain why my pricing is higher than theirs. I'm not going to be like, oh, this guy's $3,000. I'm going to do it for $2,900. I don't like that. I hate it. Plus, we have our own set rules how we're going to price out things for our business to be profitable. This, I do it just so I can explain to the customer, hey, you got to compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges, and then this is why my price is more expensive. That's the time to do it right then and there. While if they're willing to open and show the other codes that they got, that's when you do it. And it's not unethical. You're not undercutting anybody. You're just educating your customer because remember, your goal is to be an educator to the customer and help them understand why it costs that much and what value they're going to get for spending more money with you. So these questions will give you a good idea on what they're trying to spend, if they have no idea what the cost is, or if they have any other prices that they're trying to compare. And then people, they say like, oh, I don't know what it costs. Trust me, before they called you, they went on Google and were like, okay, how much does it cost to paint an exterior, 2,000 square feet exterior in Tampa? Everybody does that, guys. Nobody calls you and they haven't done even like a minor little, Google search or
research, yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows.
They've done their homework.
They've done the homework. If they're calling you, they've done some homework. Guaranteed. So that's step number 5, measure for money. Step number 6, and then this is where we're going to really spend some time, price conditioning. This step is going to help the customer avoid and skip the sticker shock. You are going to have your cost versus value sheet for every service you offer. And then there's plenty of like national census, consumer reports, what everything costs. Like you can just type what it costs to like paint my kitchen cabinets. And then there's going to be like millions of articles saying, hey, it costs anywhere from this much to this much. And then the cost versus value sheet, we create that. For example, for cabinets painting, we'll be like, okay, it costs X amount in Florida to paint your cabinets. It can cost anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 to do, refinish them the right way, 2K polyurethane, and you can still have a brand new kitchen pretty much with better than factory finish results. Or you can do a full remodel with new cabinets, manufacturer that can cost anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 for a brand new kitchen. So what we're doing right now is we're establishing a price without really establishing a price. And we're using a third party to give credit to what we're saying. So on the cost versus
value sheet, we have like the link or where we pulled the information. So if you're like, hey, I'm like, hey, go click the census. That's not me saying it. That's the market research. And then that's why it's important to cite your sources. That way you're bringing a third outlet to bring value in what you're saying and credibility. And then that's how you establish price. In their mind, like, oh, I could be spending $100,000 to have a white kitchen with new cabinets, have a full construction site in my house for like 3 months. Or I could hire Olympian for $6,000 to $10,000. That's the average based on the census and the source that they cited to refinish my cabinet and still get the brand new kitchen feeling in only 5 days. So that's what pretty much price conditioning does. It establishes price without presenting a price. You compare your services to other services, and then that's how you show value. Like, hey, brand new kitchen, under 10 Gs, 5 days, boom, value, cost savings. Versus brand new kitchen, all new cabinets, got everything the current layout, wait for the manufacturer 3 months, have to hire a plumber, electrician, carpenter, so on and so on. All the headaches.
And then in their mind, like, okay, they start leaning towards what you have to offer. That's why price conditioning is huge. And for exteriors, interiors, you can price condition. You can present price without really presenting a price by using those sheets.
Yeah, I want to say that price conditioning for the whole sales process, I think it's one of the most important steps. For me personally, that example that you told me, I don't even say like, hey, it's gonna cost $6,000 to $10,000 to refinish your kitchen cabinets. Subconsciously, I just tell them, hey, it's gonna be anywhere from 30 to 60 to do a whole new kitchen, all that stuff. But with us, it might be a fraction of the cost. So that way they start doing the math in their head and they already expect or have an idea of what to expect. And also, I'd also tell them that, hey, if you like the layout and everything, why get a whole new kitchen?
Exactly.
These are solid cabinets. You can just paint them for a fraction of the cost.
Why replace when you can refinish?
Exactly.
So what that Karmelo, like the $36,000 price that he said it cost to get a whole new kitchen, so he just threw an anchor. We call it price anchoring. So when he throws that anchor, the customer automatically correlates the project cost with that anchor that Karmelo threw, the $60,000. So like, oh, that's expensive. But then Karmelo comes right back on that anchor and he hits him like, hey, my services, they're going to be a fraction of the cost. So slowly they start easing themselves. They start getting more relaxed. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to have to spend 60 G's, but I'm still going to get a brand new kitchen for a fraction of the cost. That's a great way to price condition a customer. Very important. Also, it skips sticker shock. In their mind, they're already expecting the price that you're going to present subconsciously. Versus you don't do any of this and you're like, boom, $8,000. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah, when I first started and I didn't really focus on this step a lot, when I would tell them, hey, this is what it's going to cost to refinish, and they get the sticker shock. Me coming back and saying, oh, it's going to cost you $30,000 to get a new kitchen, though, that's going to reduce your closing ratio 100%.
You lost them. Like that's a great point you just made. You lost them. You have to, that's why the 10-step sales process, it's a sequence based on psychological factors, based on emotional factors. It's a sequence. You can't just skip step number 6 and then go to step number 9, present your price, and then be like, oh, guess what? I forgot to do step number 6. I'm going to price condition it now. No, you just lost it.
Yeah. But this is going to cost this much. No,
the sequence.
You lost your credibility.
You have to follow the sequence. Like the people who made those principles and put those principles together, they tested them. And we tested them ourselves. Like you cannot skip any steps on this process.
Yeah, this whole process is refined through lots of trial and error.
Correct. So moving on from step number 6, price conditioning, you have to price conditioning anything that you're trying to sell. And in simple words, price conditioning is establishing pricing without presenting pricing. Moving on. Step number 7, product presentation. We haven't even talked about our product yet. So we're moving on to the price presentation. In this step, we're going to be presenting our products, services, materials we use to get the job done, all the SOPs, the processes. Make sure you have the visual aids and samples for everything. Remember, any brochures that will assist you in this step, we're not leaving behind. So, for example, like our tier package. Those are brochures that you don't, like SOPs. That's intellectual property within the organization. Those brochures that showcase within the organization, the SOPs, the systems, the product, the materials, you don't leave those behind because the lady just showed me all the quotes like it was nobody's business. So you want to make sure you don't leave clues behind that the competitors can come up and pick up and
use it for their own.
And copy you because you don't want to be creating other use in your market. So these brochures and then those we have them laminated. They're just assisting our presentation. We don't leave those behind. And then, like we said in the earlier episodes, we have a tier level system. We have good, better, best options so we can fit every budget, and also we can give our customer options. Tier level selling has made a huge impact on our selling. And we went from like presenting only one price to giving a broad, like good, better, best options. And that way we can try to grasp interest, and also we can downsell. That we're going to get into that a little bit later. Like we said, customers we are consumers oriented and we love having options. All right, we're gonna get into more details about how we present and sell products on this presentation. This is for painting, obviously. We're painters, the Dirty Painters podcast, but you can implement it in any other trade services like tile, roofing, siding. We will start with cabinets. So we always start by talking and educating them on a 7-step process. We go like you do, like you take a
So degreasing, sanding, why each step is important, and how it's like a chain reaction. If you skip this step, then you're gonna have issues on this step, and you're gonna have to trace back everything. So we just run through the whole process, and also right at the end we explain the products, the difference in performance of each product, why you should go with a 2K or why you should go with a 1K, or maybe this primer is gonna work better for you because the house is gonna be vacant. It will help us turn around quicker, and you can get going.
You guys can go back. What episode was? I think I think
2 episodes ago
that we explained how to price out jobs and everything. So you can go back and reference to that because we don't have much time on this one to go through everything again. But you can reference back to those episodes so you can see how we estimate interiors, exteriors, and cabinets based on the products and based on the material level set.
Same thing for the exteriors, and then same thing for the interiors. Identify the wants and needs and see which product works best for them.
Correct. And then this is the time to like you said, raise any awareness, like what can go wrong if you skip certain steps. So step number 7 on the sales process is like you present your product, you present any things that can go wrong, if there's corners cut, and then what the ROI will be. Then we're moving on. After you present everything, you show them the samples, you show them your brochures, your materials to assist the presentation, then we move on to the tie down or the pre-close, as we can call it. So this is a small little break that we take after going over our presentation to see if they have any questions and hit them with my personal favorite question. I go, do this sound like the processes and materials and the kind of craftsman that you like to take on your project? And then this is when you get your final yes from all the previous questions that you asked that you're trying to get a yes. And then most of the time you're like, hell yeah, that's the freaking guys I want to do my project. And then once you get a final yes, then you move on the next step. That's when you're like, okay, now it's time for the fun part.
Yeah, step 8 is like a nice pass for you to go through on goal.
Step 8 is for you to try and get the last yes. Like, hey, yes, you're the guy that I want you to paint my house with.
Step 9.
Step 9. Again, I use that line. I'm like, okay, guys, time for the fun part now. And I'm like, and then like they get like all like laughing, like, uh-oh, tax season. So this is the best part of the process and the most fun, other than collecting the check. So remember, guys, in the beginning of the episode, like when we were like, hey, the scope of worksheet, that's the first sheet that you're going to be going with, the first page. So you're going to use the scope of work worksheet that you used in the beginning to take notes with and confirm with them like you have everything right. So I'm like, okay, Karmelo, we said we're going to paint your full interior. We're going to paint all the walls. We're going to paint all your trim. We're going to fix the drywall, repair the kitchen. We're going to scuff sand all your trim because you have all the trim. And then we're going to use an oil primer to go over to make sure it seals, and the latex paint or the 2K polyurethane, whatever paint we're going to use on top of it adheres and it doesn't peel off. And we're going to do 3 accent walls. We're going to spray everything. You want your doors, your main doors in black, white ceilings, one generic color over the house. Does that sound right?
Yep, I think we're all set in the scope of work and understanding what needs to be done.
So what I just did, I got another yes. I'm like, hey, Karmelo, does that sound right? You're like, yes, that sounds right. That's
yes,
it.
You got everything right.
Boom. 3rd yes. So he's already conditioned to say yes to me. So we run through the scope. I make them, we have like a little box that they sign and acknowledge it because, again, we have sales reps out there. Then a lot of times we want to make sure they don't miss anything or they didn't say something to the customer and the customer forgets. That's when we make sure the customer reads it and acknowledges it. Like, hey, yes, I agree with all this. Once you go everything, like we said, you ask them, does this sound like everything? You get your last yes. And then you're like, okay, great, give me 5 minutes to put these prices together for you. I can put a price together really fast. Because like we said, we already did our homework, we looked at the pictures, I know what it's gonna cost. So I can put it right in there. I'm like, give me 5 minutes, I start typing, pull out my magic calculator, I do all my numbers, whatever, and I put it right there. Starting out, you're not gonna be comfortable doing that. You can be like, okay, give me 15 minutes, I'm gonna run to my truck, I'll pull out my iPad or my laptop, I'll do this price for you, and I'll come right back in. Does that sound good? Yes, sounds good. Boom, another yes. We got 4 right now. So you run to your truck if you're not comfortable doing it right there. And also if you're not a multitasker. Like me, I can be doing my prices and I can still do small talk. A lot of people cannot do that. Like I've gone out with guys who just freeze and like they block off everything and just sitting there and quiet like they're doing homework. I'm like, You can do it, but just go to your truck and do it. So after you prepare everything, and then like the estimating sheets that we have, they're so simple. We can do numbers right away. If you guys are interested in getting our estimating sheets, DM Karmelo or myself on Instagram, and we'll send you our whole package. So after you do that, you plug in your numbers, you present, you prepare everything nice, and you write them neat. Very important. Don't have a doctor scribbling handwriting. Just pretend like this is going to get you money. Like, you have to be nice and clean and organized. And I used to have very bad handwriting. But you you don't even want
Don't even get started on me. Sometimes I would get clients, is this a 4 or a 9? It's a little bit embarrassing, so I just got a little bit better with that. So more clear.
It's not even me. My mom would be like, Karmelo, what the heck? I can't even read what you're writing. So she would be like, because we give my mom like all the scope of works and she puts them on the filing. She's like, I can't even read what's this. And then I was like, dude, you gotta be, because we're not printing them out. You can have a mobile printer, type everything out, print it out, but it takes more time versus just writing it down, filling it in. It also feels more personable and more custom. Mm-hmm. So prepare everything, write it down, come up with your prices, and before you go in, realize what's your bottom price. If you're trying to negotiate to close the job right there, be like, in your mind, you already know where you need to be, you know what your job is going to cost, and how much wiggle room you have to play with, and what incentives you can offer to get the job. And then when you're ready to present prices, I usually use the same line. All right, the moment we're all waiting for. And then they see it. I usually, like, if it's husband and wife, I like sitting like husband, wife, and like I like being on their left. That way I can show everything. Or if I'm just dealing with one person, I like sitting on their left and then showcase like right next to them so we can go over everything together. And then we usually have them sit down. You never want to sell standing. That's another, like,
you want them to be comfortable.
Yeah, you want them to be comfortable. Like, I always try to get them like to the dining table. You don't want to be like leaning on the living room, or like on the couch or like on the countertop. Be like, hey, can we sit at the dining table? And they're like, yeah. Like, people are nice. Like, they're not gonna be like, no, I want you to like stand, sell me the job. So we sit down, comfortable. Everybody's comfortable, and then we explain everything again. I explain to them like, hey, this is how long it's gonna take. This is each package, and then I run through all the packages and then all the pricing. Like, hey, tier 1, you're gonna be getting this. You're gonna get the prime level. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get 2-year warranty. And then moving up, upgrade. We run them through the whole thing. We run them through the whole packages. We present the price at the end, and then we go through anything that the sales presentation has that we need to go through. We explain everything to them, and then I hand them the price paper, and then I'm like, hey, I'll let them sit. I'll let them look at it. They'll usually look at each other if it's husband and wife, and I just sit there in silence and honestly look at it. And then I just sit in silence and like try and pick up on their body language. And then I'll be like, okay, do you guys have any questions? If there's any questions, I'll answer them. If there's like, that's more than I expected to pay. When they hit me with like, oh, that's more than I expected to pay, I'm like, what do you think that is? And when you ask that question, you diffuse right away because you make them think, why do you think? Like, and then they'll be like, I got other quotes that were cheaper, or didn't think it cost that much to paint cabinets. And then you go back to getting to explain to them why your price is where it's at. And just ask any questions, answer any questions, that they might have. And just kind of, it's a little bit of an awkward vibe for a few minutes until you realize what they want to do, if they have any objections. And then you just try to be like, okay, what do you want to do next? Would you guys like to get on the schedule? 2 out of 10 times, they'll be like, okay, here, let me go get my checkbook. Boom. That's nice when it happens, but it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes they're like, I want to get some other quotes. When they say, I want to get some other quotes, I'm like, what I said today was not, do you think we're not going to be a good fit to do your project? And that's a good question. Then be like, no. I think you'll be a great fit. We just want to get some more estimates. Okay, that's fair. Get some other estimates. Let me know if you have any questions. You're not trying to force them to close. Or like, that's more than I expected to pay. That's the last sequence that I can give you. And you're like, what do you think that is? And they'll explain, oh, my budget is that much. I was willing to be around that range. And that's when you downselling comes in. And then step number 10, it's called the tie down. So when they give you that, you try and close it right now. Again, we're not aggressive closers. We're not car salespeople, but we still want the close. I don't want to have to go back to my shop and office and have to follow up with you for a week. I'm trying to get the close. So I'll be like, okay, well, here's what I can do for you. I can do the middle package. That's downselling. Write this down, guys. When you downsell, you want to be ethical. You want to take something away in order to decrease the price. You can't all of a sudden charge them $10,000 and be like, oh, guess what? I can do it for $5,000. Right there, you lost the sale because you're coming out as unethical. They'll be like, you're just charging me $10,000. Now you can charge me $5,000. So downselling, you have to be ethical. You'd be like, okay, Karmelo, I said I can do it for $10,000 for my middle package, and you said this is out of your range. What if I used all your content in your house to run for my marketing campaigns, and you gave me 5 people that you think they might need my services, or you left me a badass Google review, and I could knock down $1,200? Now I downgraded you one step lower. I made you work for me by talking to 5 people in your circle. Hey, would you like an estimate? Because I explained, like, hey, it cost me about $100 to get a lead. Give me 5 leads that they might be willing to use my services, and then leave me a good review. So right there, you're giving me your time, you're giving me access to your network, and you give me 5 leads. So my downselling is justified. I didn't go all of a sudden like, hey, guess what, man? I can take $3,000. Oh, ha. You'd be like, holy fuck, how did you just go from, how he just dropped $3,000? Is he trying to scam me? But when you approach downselling by taking something away or downgrading, then you make it more enticing. It works. I've had jobs where, like, okay, give me five names, or text them, put us in a group chat. Like, hey, this is Redion from Olympian Painting. He's doing some painting in my house. I think he can help you with, like, your backsplash or whatever. So I make them do that. And then they leave me a good, after the project is done, they're tied in to leave me a good Google review. Obviously, they're happy with it. Or they let me use the content for their house for advertising purposes. So downselling it, I took something away in order to give them value and help them with the price. It'll work. It takes practice to get it refined. Not a lot of people can downsell correctly, but for more close downs and closing down the deal, it's a great technique and not come out unethical. Or you're like, okay, that sounds great. You go back to, like, oh, if you have any questions, you're not trying to, like, force them, like, oh, 10% discount, cash discount. I don't like doing that. I'm not trying to, like, force them to close. I'm like, okay, sounds good. You get your other estimates. Text me if you have any questions. I'll follow up with you in 2 days. And then your follow-up sequence starts in. After step 10, you either get the check, they either tell you to piss off, or you take them on the follow-up sequence, and then you have to be like, hey, Karmelo, it's been 48 hours since we did an estimate. Are you interested? Did you get the other estimates? Do you have any questions? And then that's when your follow-up sequence starts. Follow-up is important too. We used to not follow up, but we started doing it. A lot of people are not ready to buy now, but 3 months down the road, they'll be ready to buy. That's why you have to stay relevant to them, and you have to stay in front of them.
Yeah, you have to keep a few touch points.
Exactly. So that's pretty much a 10-step sales process. Wraps it up. Do you have anything to add on?
Another downselling point that I like using sometimes, especially on exteriors, is front porch or back porch. If it's, a little bit faded, I like to use that as an extra incentive. Okay, here's what we can do. For this package, I'll also include your porch.
Yeah, you can add.
If that's something
you can add bonuses. You can add value. You can be like, I'll do.
But never a discount. That's something I never do. I might tell them, okay, I think I can maybe use this primer, which is in the higher tier grade, but I'll use it with, this top coat if we do it for this price.
Yes, you have to be ethical.
Take the cut on the material instead of reducing money.
Yeah. And also, you got to make sure you're like, hey, I'm not trying to cut corners to get your project done. I still want to deliver a good quality product. But I can help you if you help me. That's the thing. I help you, you help me, we can work out the price. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple 10-step sales process. If you guys are interested, we can send you all the PDFs of what we went through today. Just DM us on Instagram. Or you can go on my profile. You can click the link there and fill out our information. And we'll send you the 10-step sales process PDF. That way you can start implementing your own business. I guarantee it's gonna change your whole your closing ratio is gonna go up, your conversion is gonna go up, and people are just gonna start taking you way more seriously when you go in there and you have a sequence, you have a presentation, and you ask those questions. You're gonna be an expert, guaranteed. It's gonna take some practice. You're gonna have to do a few estimates. You're gonna fuck up a few times, but once you get it refined and down to the T, you're gonna be unstoppable. That's it. All you have to focus is deliver a good product, market, get new leads, and with this 10-step sales process, price right, and every job is yours, guaranteed.
It will boost your brand. And make you seem like a top dog in your industry.
All right, so this will wrap up this episode of the Dirty Painters podcast.
Be sure to follow our business on Instagram at Olympian Painting and also our personal pages, Olympian_Redion, Olympian_Karmelo for more content. And keep up with our episodes on Dirty Painters podcast.
If you like this episode, be sure to share with a fellow painter or tradie. Until next time, this is Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
Signing off from the Dirty Painters podcast.
Take care.